Hello everyone, it's Tani Games here. Welcome back to the channel. This is effectively the second time I'm recording this video because the first time I recorded it, it turned into sort of an over an hour long rant. And I was like, Tanya, you can't upload this. You can't. It's too long. It's too long for a rant about a Starpath. So I was like, okay, let's try and re-record this. Let's try and concise it down for everyone, and things like that. So I'm hoping I can do that. But the first thing that basically I sort of want to, I guess, introduce and talk about is my reasoning for talking about this. So I've done another video to this similar before. I did it for the night show Starpath. And the reason why I've done it for the night show Starpath, the reason why I'm doing it for this Starpath, and why I don't tend to do this for the regular Starpaths, is because there's something different with these Starpaths. These have changed, and I feel as the player, a player, I should say, as part of the player base, we should give our feedback when we get changes in game and things like that. We should definitely let Gameloft know how we feel, in my opinion. I do feel like, oh, and here comes the rain. I do feel like Gameloft do listen to its player base. I will admit they seem very, very slow when enacting feedback from the player base, but I definitely think they do. I mean, we have the 16-point rotation, which wouldn't be possible, I think, if it wasn't for players like myself and others in the community stressing the need, the desire to get that rotation come to the game. Same with the bordered paths. If it wasn't for the feedback about wanting bordered paths, I don't think we would have that. So that is why I'm doing this video, because I feel as the player base, it is very, very important we talk about what we like, what we dislike about the game so it can improve. This is a live service game, so this game will be able to constantly evolve and change, and I think we can shape it into the game that we want. But the only way we can do that is by offering feedback. So since I'm a content creator, I'm doing it in a video form. I think there's lots of ways you can do it. You can tweet Gameloft, you can mention it in surveys when they send out the surveys, you can communicate with them on Facebook and Instagram. They have their customer service thing, which I would argue is largely for customer service complaints rather than just general feedback. You want to make sure people who are having real issue and bugs with the game can get through, but if there's something major and you feel like it's worth addressing, I think definitely communicate with Gameloft, just so that there can be improvements and changes. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about the Starpath. So first, I think we need to establish very briefly about the purpose of the Starpath. And when I talk about the purpose of the Starpath, that will probably give you an indication to the viewpoint that I'm having going into this. So effectively, the Starpath is a form of battle pass. There are lots of games that have battle passes. Fortnite has one, Infinity Nikki has one, Dead by Daylight has one. Now, I'm not as familiar with Fortnite's battle pass. I have very rarely played Fortnite. I've only played it a few times. It's not a game I'm particularly interested in. But I do have a lot of experience with Infinity Nikki's battle pass system and also Dead by Daylight's. And I'm probably going to refer to Dead by Daylight more in this video because I feel Dead by Daylight's is probably more equivalent. Because Dead by Daylight Starpath gives you cosmetics, whereas Infinity Nikki just gives you kind of like resources and stuff. So I don't feel it's quite on the same applicable level. Even though Infinity Nikki has a really fun and enjoyable battle pass, I definitely think equating it to something like Dead by Daylight is probably going to make more sense because they function quite similar in terms of giving cosmetics for progress in the battle pass. So battle passes are designed to encourage regular gameplay. That's what they're there for. They reward the player base with items for cheap or for free as a way of encouraging active gameplay. Now, for live service games like Disney Dreamlight Valley, having a regular online player base is very, very important. Having those high figures of gameplay, of high user base and things like that is very, very important for live service games. It's an indicator of how successful a game is. I mean, there's lots of other factors. Let me just stress that now. Obviously, the game still needs to make money and things like that. But having a high player base, a high active player base, is very, very important. Those stats do matter to companies that have live service games. Like I said, there are other factors. How much money they make is obviously very important too. But having an active player base is very, very important for live service games. So, a lot of live service games implement a system, a battle pass, which is designed to encourage users to regularly log into the game and actively play it. That is what they're designed to do. So what they do is they give a bunch of cosmetics, they give a bunch of free items, cheap items, whatever it may be, as a reward for being an active and regular player base. Now, as part of this does mean that battle passes are generally meant to be fairly grindy. Not too grindy, but, you know, they're meant to... Because they're meant to encourage this active player base, they're not designed to be, oh, I log in for 10 minutes and it's completed. They don't want that because that doesn't encourage an active and regular gameplay. And honestly, this is why I think they have so many time-gated tasks. I hate the time-gated tasks. It really annoys me that as a player, I am limited. I would rather have a task that takes me 1 hour to complete, for instance, but I have to consistently play the game, consistently work at that task, than, for instance, have something where I log in for 2 seconds, talk to a villager, and then I'm done. I can't do anything more. For me, that doesn't encourage active gameplay. For me, the time-gated tasks like Daisy's Boutique, gifting villagers friendship gifts, talking to villagers, when they have stuff like that that takes 3 to 5 days, and I'm going to say 3 to 5 days because I was literally gated for about 5 days with a couple of the tasks because of one important factor, this update. And the problem with that is that it doesn't encourage me to actively play the game. I log on, I talk to a villager, I turn my game off. I'm on it for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes, that's it. I just have to look at what the villager wants, see the villager I have to talk to, go talk to them, go gift them, and that's it. That's it. Done. And then I'm off the game. And I feel like the time-gated tasks like that are not very, very good because, like I said, it doesn't encourage active gameplay. All it does is convince me to log on for 2 seconds and log off. And I'm not as interested in doing that. I'm not. It's just boring. It's not enjoyable for me, kind of thing. So I don't rate those tasks very highly, if I'm perfectly honest. I feel like they're a bit of a detriment to the game, and time gating in such a way can be very frustrating for the player base. Now, one important change this update, or one important factor I think that needs addressing, is the fact that Sally needed to, you need to have finished the entire game, pretty much, in order to unlock Sally. And I think that was a major error on Game Loss part. Now, I did 3 Starpaths this update, and only one of them I didn't finish 100% because of the fact that I couldn't talk to a patchwork villager. I couldn't talk to Sally because she was locked behind finishing the game. And I didn't want to finish 100% the game. I didn't want to do it. So I was locked out. Now, it only cost me 90 moonstones. 180 moonstones, something like that. It wasn't a big deal. I wasn't too stressed about it. You know, all in all, to pay 600 moonstones to get all the rewards I did get, I still think is a bargain. But I didn't like that I felt like my hand was forced. In order for me to finish the Starpath, I was going to have to finish the game. And I really think Gameloft need to address how they add villagers into the game and ensure villagers aren't locked behind the game being completed, because I think that's very, very alienating for newer players. I think it's a bad, bad move. I don't think it's sensible at all. And yeah, it just, to think that, like, if you're a new player and let's say you haven't got all the characters unlocked, to think that you have to finish the entire game in order to finish the Starpath is very, very off-putting. And it is a shame. And I don't think personally there was anything wrong with them having chat to a patchwork villager in the game as such, because I do think it encourages players to progress with the update storyline, like to engage with the new content. But the problem they had is that they locked Sally behind completing the game, which was where the disconnect was for me in that regard. I don't think that was very smart, and I think moving forward, if I could recommend something, it is Gameloft. Please do not lock new characters behind finishing the game. Now, one of the things that I quite like about Realm updates is the fact that if you're a newer player, so long as you've got the Dreamlight to unlock the door, you can unlock whichever villager you want, whichever way you want. You can play it as you see fit, and I think that was a fantastic move on their part. And I think if they want to have villagers come in based on a secret surprise or having an existing character in the game as such, I don't think that's too bad. Like having to need Jack unlocked before you can unlock Sally, I don't think that's necessarily a problem, so long as Jack can be unlocked without finishing the game. That is something that I think is very important. As I said, this game, it needs newer players to come on board regularly. And if you make a Starpath that can only be done sufficiently if you're a player who's been playing a long time, it's just alienating. And if I was a newer player, I'd be like, okay, I'm out. This is impossible. How am I ever going to catch up? How am I ever meant to finish Starpaths and things like that when there's this constant barrier? My first complaint and my first tip or recommendation to Gameloft is please don't lock characters behind completing the game. Please don't. Please make it so that every character can be unlocked without finishing the whole game. Pretty please. And I have a feeling that that's not going to be entirely possible. I have a feeling when we get our update in the summer, the Peter Pan update, he's going to be locked behind having the game completed, which again is quite frustrating for me. In a sense, I'm kind of, oh my gosh, I'm forced into having this completed now in order to get his update, because he's trapped in Skull Rock, right? Or he's trapped behind Skull Rock. And Skull Rock gets activated when you finish the main game. So again, we're going to have another update where finishing the main game is a priority, and it does make me worried for newer players. So Gameloft, please think about this approach. Please think about changing that and not doing that going forward, because I feel like it is going to be alienating for the player base. Now, the second point that I want to raise is something that gets raised very regularly, and that is the blue bubble issue. Now, one of my pet peeves with the Starpath is when they have the blue bubbles, and not only do they have the blue bubbles, but then they set it to a specific area, a specific biome, region, whatever you want to call it. They will have fish for tilapia in the Frosted Heights. Now, tilapia you can get in two places. You can get it in Sunlit Plateau and Frosted Heights, which means when you have the fish for tilapia task, it's a hard task anyway because you're reliant on blue bubbles. And no matter what glitches there are out there to, you know, respawn a blue bubble, if your game isn't loading blue bubbles for you, that is irrelevant. being able to force a blue bubble to turn into a certain fish is irrelevant when you can't get that blue bubble to begin with. And that's one of the problems when something like that is based on RNG. And when you have something isolated to a biome like the Frosted Heights, there was many a time that I was playing on my husband's account trying to catch up on the Starpath, and I would have a task like fish for crabs or whatever it was this time. I think it was crabs. And I was fishing in the Frosted Heights trying to get my crabs, and then nothing would spawn at all. I would fish all the bubbles that were there, the golds and the whites, and then I would be sat there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for another bubble to spawn, and inevitably it would be a white bubble. And it was so frustrating because I wasn't even playing the game during that point. I was just waiting for bubbles to spawn, and I would end up leaving it running on my husband's computer, going back to my PC to do something else, play Infinity Nikki, for instance, because I couldn't actively play Dreamlight Valley because I was waiting on bubbles respawning. It needs to be more constant, the bubbles respawning, so that you can fish continually. Something like that would make it easier. But getting to effectively a time gate because there's nothing spawning in your valley is very, very frustrating. That's not me actively playing the game anymore. And I didn't like that at all. So if I'd have had 2 biomes that I could work with, it would have made it so much easier because I could have moved from one biome to another. For instance, one of the things I like about the rock mining tasks, they'll have something like mine for purple and yellow gems. So when I had the mining for purple and yellow gems, I was going around the Forgotten Lands, running down to my plaza, running around that and running up to the Frosted Heights, and I was doing that loop consistently. And it was encouraging me to play the game, to stay active on it, because by the time I finished my first loop back in the Forgotten Lands, there I was ready to mine again, and the process would start over, and that encouraged a much more active gameplay, and I enjoyed that. I didn't mind that. Do you know what I like doing? I would do that, and I would have a Oscar's stream, I would have a Trisha's stream, something like that, and I would just be listening to them do their thing. I was watching videos on YouTube and then just mindlessly going around, but I was still engaging with the game, all while working towards the task. And something like the fishing one with the blue bubbles, when you're isolated to a single biome and that biome stops spawning, you are no longer engaging or playing the game. It just makes you want to log off. Go, what's the point? Nothing's spawning now, so toodaloo. I'll go move on to something else. Because there's nothing else you can do, especially if you've got time gated tasks like Daisy's Boutique or gifting to villagers. Like that then stops you from progressing with the rest of the Starpath. And it's very, very frustrating. It annoys me to no end. I really, really don't like it, honestly. It just drives me up the wall. So if you're going to have tasks that require RNG, ensure it's an RNG that people can actively work towards. So that's my complaint. Blue bubbles, not being able to continuously work towards them as a task. Because they're RNG based, you often get time gated because of the fact that stuff doesn't spawn in, and then you can't progress. So either make it so that we can force spawn the blue bubbles, or change it so that stuff is spawning constantly, because I'm telling you now, that stuff about the spawning happens on every account that I play on. So if it's a bug, it has to be a massive bug, because it happens on every account I play on. And I play through Xbox and I play through Steam. So I play through 2 different platforms effectively, even though they're both based on the PC. So like I said, if everyone else out there is getting constant respawns and they never have a moment in their valley where no bubbles are spawned in their Frosted Heights, okay, lucky you, I guess, because I don't have that. I don't have that at all. I will regularly run through a loop like of the bubbles that spawn. So in Frosted Heights, you usually have about 4 that spawn in the river and 1 in the pond. and I will fish those up each about twice usually, and then nothing spawns for ages. So that's a problem that I have on all of my accounts. So I really would like them to address that. Like I said, there's a few different fixes. Have a way for us to force spawn blue bubbles like we can do with the gold ones. Don't limit fishing blue bubbles to one specific biome, or change it so that fish are constantly spawning. There is never a time when there isn't a bubble kind of thing. That's my recommendation. Um the next criticism that I have is actually about the formula of how they've set up the bonus rewards. Because the bonus rewards is actually probably the biggest change, obviously, that they've had this update, rather than them getting rid of some of the easier tasks. I'll touch on that briefly in a sec. But let's briefly talk about how they've done this bonus rewards page, because I think that's caused a massive disconnect in the community. So let's talk about that. So I'm here in the rewards page at the moment for the Starpath. And what I would say is, when we had this Starpath rewards page prior, we had the usual 1 to 6 pages. And then what we would have was a final page 7, which we could claim moonstones on. And usually they would be for extra tasks that you finish and things like that. Now, one of the major problems that I think they've done this time around is they have moved that to the end of the bonus rewards page. Now, my thoughts with this is that they did that to maximize how much they get back. As I said previously, battle passes and things like that, they're designed to encourage active and regular players and stuff like that. So by putting this at the end of the bonus rewards, their thoughts are, okay, we'll probably get quite a few people who may not finish this Starpath because of the fact that they're not an active and regular player base. So therefore we might make a little bit more off of the Starpath by putting this at the end of the bonus rewards rather than the end of the Starpath. And I think that caused a real disconnect with some players. I think if they'd have put the Moonstone page here as normal, it wouldn't have caused that disconnect. Now, I do appreciate they would have to put a cap on it, because otherwise you could end up spending tokens for moonstones that you don't want to do, because you need those tokens for the bonus rewards. So what I would have done is I would have set it up a bit like how this moonstone reward is here, where you would actually have to claim like a certain amount. I think that would have been a better way to have done it, perhaps, or at least have a cap on how many you can claim. Like, have a 7th page that has, 6 squares like this, or 7 squares, because I can't count. And then you have to click each one for each task that you then finish beyond that page. And I think, again, that would allow people to claim what they used to have done to finish the Starpath as they usually do, and feel like they had finalized their Starpath. Because I think people see this as the end of the Starpath, whereas this is just the end of the bonus path. And the bonus path is for people who commit that little bit more time, people who put in more effort, people who spend a bit more time actively progressing through this kind of thing. That's what it's meant to be. And I think a lot of people just saw the Starpath as being extended, and it wasn't extended as such. I mean, it is and it isn't. It obviously is extended, but the intention is this is always the Starpath. This was always the Starpath. This, literally, bonus rewards. They're bonus. They're not meant for everyone. And I think that upset a lot of players because of the fact that they put the Enchanted Winter Cottage here. But I think the reason why they put this Enchanted Winter Cottage here is because of the fact that they wanted to have a big piece to commit people to play into the bonus rewards. They want to put something good into the bonus rewards, again, as a way of actively encouraging. It's meant to encourage, it's meant to convince you to play this game often, to dedicate time to it. That is the whole point of this battle pass system. And I don't think in any sense they did wrong with that at all. When I think of DBD and they have like a deep rift, they have the regular rift and they have the deep rift. And the deep rift is basically recolors of some items that you can get in the regular rift. So exactly like how this is set up, to be honest, because this is recolors of what you get in the base Starpath. It's like exactly the same. So I'm very familiar with this setup. Now, when it comes to Dead by Daylight, I have not finished every single rift. I have not played every rift. I have not completed every rift. And I accept that because I wasn't an active player. If I was an active player, as in playing consistently and regularly and not being able to get this done, I would understand being annoyed. But it's meant to encourage active gameplay. So when I've missed out on previous rifts in Dead by Daylight, I have not been too disappointed because I go, okay, I didn't play enough this update. I didn't play enough to get those rewards. That's on me. That is my own fault. I should have committed. And if I do want those rewards, I just wait the 10 to 12 months till it comes into the effectively DVD's premium shop. Because that's what they do. They put them into the premium shop about a year down the line. And again, that is something that Disney Dreamlight Valley do as well. They put items that were in Starpaths back into the premium shop, but at a higher price tag. So those who perhaps weren't around have an opportunity to get the items, but those who didn't commit to being an active player base have to pay the price for that. Because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And we need to accept that. And I know that's probably very, very harsh of me. I know I'm probably being blunt and it's probably going to upset a lot of people. But that's the truth of it. That's what this is meant to function like. So I actually have very little complaints in regards to them doing this kind of setup. I think this is very good. I think this is great. I think they just caused a disconnect because they didn't put some sort of Moonstone reward as the final 7th page here. And I think if they'd have kept the base Starpath as it should be, I think a lot more people would feel encouraged by it. I think, personally. I feel like people didn't see this as the end of the Starpath anymore and instead saw this as the end, when realistically it's not. This is still the end of the Starpath. Perhaps they could have changed up how you unlock the bonus rewards. Perhaps this was a grayed out page or something like that that you couldn't access until you completed the Starpath. You know, you have to trade in the tokens at the end. Like, they could have it so that you have to finish that. And when you have the duties, you only have so many duties for the base Starpath. And then they could have the bonus rewards and they could have like the rewards and the duties tied here and have them as like a separate creation, almost like a completely separate Starpath. And I think that's the problem, is because people didn't, they just thought it was extended. I think that was the problem. People saw this as a longer Starpath, which in a sense it is, but it also isn't. It is designed as a bonus, as an extra. This is the Starpath. This is the Starpath. That's the Starpath. This is bonus. This is extra. This is all extra for those that commit. But I think, like I said, I think because of the way they changed this up without having that final Moonstone page, it's kind of caused a disconnect that people think the Starpath takes you to here. I think, personally. So I think they might need to rework how this system shows, how it's indicated. I think they need to change where this Moonstone tokens is to have it at the end here in some manner, just to make it a bit easier for players. But obviously they just have to finesse how they do that final claim of those Moonstone tokens, because the last thing you want is for people to accidentally spend tokens on Moonstones instead of sending them on the rewards and stuff like that. I don't know, that's for Gameloft to decide, but I do feel like that's caused a disconnect here in terms of people thinking this is the length of the Starpath, when realistically It's here. It's here. This is where it is. At least in my eyes, that's how I see it, because like I said, to me, that's how it is in Dead by Daylight. You have the main rift, and so long as you do that, you basically get all the rewards. It's just the end bit is for recolors. Now, whilst I'm on the topic of recolors, I do also want to briefly mention how I think they could have improved this section. I think one of the fatal issues they had is the fact that they called something Spring 4 and stuff like that. And I think it's caused a disconnect with how I view some of these items. I know this says Green Winter and stuff like that, but I just feel like if you're gonna go in and commit to something being a spring theme, make it consistent. Remove the snow from this item and have it be a spring thing. Otherwise, label this winter green jacket. Calling it spring 4. And why is this spring 4 and this winter tiara? I mean, this feels like a base name. I feel like they messed up. I don't think it's meant to be called Winter Tiara 02. I think that was a placeholder name and they didn't change it. Much like how when they've done their cropping here, they've accidentally removed the arms. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but yeah, there's no arms on this outfit, but obviously there is. So their removing of the background or whatever there has messed up. But yeah, I just feel like there's maybe a disconnect there. Perhaps they could make it so that, you know, if they are doing something spring themed, like I said, they just remove the snow texture. Just gives us a bit more variety in it. And I do feel like some of the sets feel a bit incomplete. Like, we've got this swing chair, but we don't have any other chairs. I would rather have another chair, like one of the singular chairs or the sofa, than having the cooking station or the crafting station. I just feel like maybe their choice of items wasn't the best. It didn't feel like a full set. And when it comes to the outfits, I think it's a real shame that they don't have green wings, because when you have the regular Starpath, you have the dress or the coat, and then you have the tiara, and then you have the wings, and they're clearly intended as a full set. So when you're in the bonus rewards and you don't have a green set of the wings, it just feels disconnected. So I feel like they need to consider a bit more carefully about what they have as a recolor. Make sure they're not splitting up sets, because as it stands, if I was to wear this green dress, I mean, I would feel like it was incomplete without the wings, in a sense. I will always pick the blue one, not only because I like the colour blue, but because of the fact that you can wear the wings in it. You can complete the outfit. You can put on the crown, you can put on the wings, and it will be a complete set. Whereas if I go to complete this, I've got no wings to match with it. And for some of this meant to be fairies inspired, because this is the Frost and Fairy Starpath, I can't wear this as a fairy because I don't have the wings for it. And yes, I could match with other wings if I wanted. I could just wear the Tinkerbell wings. But it's the principle of the fact that you've got an outfit and it's not complete. So I think they probably need to rethink the recolors that they do. Just work on perfecting that a little bit better. So make sure they're not breaking apart what is clearly meant to be an intended set as a reward, because that's something you have in DBD. When you have the recolors, you get the full set recolored. Like, you don't just get like the outfit and not the hair. You get the outfit and the hair recolored. It's all recolored kind of thing. So that's something I think they need to just pick up on and make sure that when they're moving stuff into the bonus rewards as a recolor, that they're doing it with full set items. Because at the moment, I'm not encouraged to decorate with this set because it's not complete in my eyes. I need an additional chair, I think. Like I said, get rid of the crafting station, change it to a chair, and I feel like I could decorate with it more cohesively. And as I said, if they are calling things Spring 4, like this one, get rid of the snow. I don't want to see snow on a spring-related item. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't want it. I don't want it. If you're going to call something spring, make it spring. Commit to the theme. That's in my eyes. 4 means to, like, it's when it's thawed out. It's like it's disappearing. So make it disappear. Make it disappear. That's one of the thoughts in my eyes. So yeah, this needs a bit of an overhaul, a bit of a tweak, just to make it more cohesive where the end of the star path is for players, and also making sure the bonus rewards feel complete as a set. And I think that's the majority of my points. They got rid of a lot of the easier to do tasks, you know, things like collecting shells from the beach, spending time with certain villagers, which you could then do whilst actively working on other tasks. I'd regularly hang out with Mickey or Merlin or whatever it was, and then go and do my mining task or whatever it was of the day. So I feel like for this star path, they really ramped up the difficulty. They needed to tone that back down, especially because if we have shorter star path lengths, if we have star paths that are only 42 days, to do this in 42 days, yeah, you could do it, because I did my star path on my main account within like 7 to 10 days. Can't remember exactly how long, but it was only about a weekish that it took me. So yeah, it is possible to do. If you commit and grind, you can do it. It is definitely possible, and I did it on 3 accounts, so it can be done. I do accept I'm in a very privileged position in that content creation is my full-time job. I'm very lucky that the wage my husband gets is enough for us to live on as a family, because without it, I certainly wouldn't be able to do this as a full-time job. I certainly don't earn enough from the YouTube ad revenue to make this a full-time job as such. If I was dependent for like income and things like that, I just wouldn't be able to do it. I'd love to get to the point where I'm suddenly able to contribute to the family. That's where I want to be. I want to contribute to the family. But at the moment, I'm just, yeah. But I'm still very privileged that I can do this. I accept that. I do accept that. I'm very privileged. And it does give me a lot of time to focus on the game. But I think, even thinking about how active I was in the star path, a lot of what held me back was the time gated tasks. Realistically, if I didn't have a lot of those time gated tasks, like gifting villagers to Jack, which took me 5 days on my new account, I would have been able to complete this a lot quicker. And I think, again, that causes a bit of a disconnect for players. So yeah, I think that's mainly my points. I hope I gave consistent points of what I found wrong and what they could improve on. So, you know, changing some of the tasks so that they're not so time gated, making it so that stuff isn't, yeah, they basically need to stop making things where you're forced into not actively playing the game. The whole point is for active playing of the game. So they need to cut down on the amount of tasks that don't encourage active playing, in my opinion. Just to, yeah, make things a bit easier, and perhaps tweak how they do that bonus reward section, how it's set up, just so it doesn't feel so disconnecting for players, and make it so that players aren't locked behind completion of the game in order to unlock them and have them be in the star path, because I think that's unfair. There's a reason why they don't have Starpath, like, not Starpath, DLC related characters as part of the Starpath, because that's fair. Otherwise, you're alienating your player base, and I think likewise, ensuring that players who haven't completed the game, players who are new, can finish a Starpath if they commit the time, is also very, very important. So yeah, that's my thoughts, that's my feedback. Let me know yours in the comment down below. I'm sorry this video went on so long again. It did. I can't cut it down anymore. At least it is shorter than last time. It is shorter than last time. But yeah, just let me know your thoughts, what improvements you would like to see come to the Star Path, what annoyed you about the Star Path. It's unlikely Gameloft is ever going to notice me. But if they did, perhaps they might see my feedback in this video. They might see your feedback in the comments. So yeah, let's share, let's have a discussion. Just obviously keep it friendly. We're all entitled to our own opinions and things like that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on the matter. So please do leave a comment down below and we can talk about it. But thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it's been a long time. But thank you so much. Thank you to all my subscribers and my channel members. To anyone who likes and comments, you all are amazing, superstars, fantastic, incredible, all the good adjectives. Thank you so, so much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.